It just dawned on me that I've been a parent for close to 12 years now. And maybe you can call it my Buddhist practice, but I remember waiting outside the OT as my wife delivered our first child. I was outside, and after the nurse gave me my daughter to my hands, the funny thing is, while I was feeling gratitude, appreciation, joy, and all of that, somewhere in the back of my mind, I was preparing for an inevitable separation that would happen as she would turn into an adult. So I guess that gives you kind of like an insight into what kind of a person I am. And I remember calling my mom up from Sikkim and thanking her, and also while it was day one on the job of being a parent and there wasn't much to do at that point in time, I remember thanking her profusely and saying that can't imagine how you brought up 7 of us. But while in this 11 years, almost 12 years, in November it will be 12 years, I have learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, but there has been a line that I have come across. This line helps me brace myself to inevitably, in some sense, dealing with her when she becomes an adult. And the line is that when your child is small, the role that you need to fulfill is that of a manager. But as your child starts to grow up, it is very important that you make a transition into being a consultant. Hi, my name is Karma Dentu, and today I thought about P and P for parenting. The pandemic, the COVID-19, gave us a lot of lessons as a species, as a planet. But for me, amongst the many problems and challenges that COVID and the coronavirus gave us, it gave me something which I never thought when I was a young boy I would enjoy. And that thing was, it started off as composting because of the travel and driving restrictions and all of those things that was in place here in Thimphu. The garbage truck was not coming every day. So I looked online, found out how you could compost at home. So I went to the backyard and I dug a pit, which in hindsight was not necessary because that was the most tiresome thing about it. And then I started composting. So one thing led to another. From composting, I came across a thing called no-dig gardening. And me being the lazy person that I am, I thought, perfect, it checks all the boxes. So then I started to do no-dig gardening. I know I said this is a video about parenting, and I will get to the point. So what happened was I started to do gardening. And the more gardening I did, the more joy I derived out of it. So, but with that, I got, amongst the many things that I got to learn from gardening, one thing I noticed was there are 2 ways you could seed. You can have a seed sprout in a seeding tray, or you can directly sow. You can take the seed and take a risk and plant the seed directly. Now, I noticed that when you do seeding trays, when you grow your seed in a seeding tray or you plant something in a greenhouse, what happens eventually is the plant that grows in a greenhouse or the plant that grows within the confines of your apartment or your house, it's not as strong as the plant that you directly sow. And my takeaway from this was how, when we as parents coddle, pamper, and spoil our child, I find it very comparable to growing a plant in a greenhouse. And the process of that, for those of you who are gardeners and are watching this, you know that you can't directly take out a plant or a seedling from a tray and immediately put it into the open air and leave it to the elements to fend for itself and grow. You need to harden the plant. So you take it out the first day in the outside temperature and atmosphere and climatic condition for maybe a few hours, maybe 2-3 hours. Then you take it back in. The next day you extend it a little bit more, maybe 4 hours. So eventually your plant gets to adapt to the outside weather and environmental conditions, and then hopefully it will survive. And whereas the seed which you directly sow, I mean, it has its own challenges, but once it comes out, there is very less things to do with it. Now, coming back to parenting, when we are there for our children all the time, when we are solving problems for them, when you are trying to give them the best part of a meal, when you are, I mean, basically, I think the modern day term is helicopter parents. If we are doing that, then what we are eventually doing, at least this is, since it's my take and it's my opinion, I feel we are crippling our children in many ways. And I am also kind of like a proof of it, because I can't say that we were spoiled silly, but our parents, all 7 of us siblings, they didn't leave us wanting for anything. So because of that, my first time when I was in Dagana, I had a very difficult time even making rice in a rice cooker. After that, after marriage, when I started to take over the dishwashing and part of the laundry and things like that, it was a learning curve. And I feel that if I had done all of those things when I was a child, the transition would have been better. Anyway, all of that is water under the bridge now, because I'm an expert, like I've shared in earlier videos, an expert dishwasher. While aunts, uncles, grandparents want to spoil their child, and they want to give them sweets, they want to give them more pocket money or buy them whatever they want to buy. We as parents, the easiest thing for us to do is to say yes. Child wants video game time, give it to them, unlimited hours. Child wants to eat sweets, give them. So it's more difficult for a parent to say no than it is for us to say yes. The takeaway from this video has to be that when we are doing everything for our children, it's like growing a plant in a greenhouse. And in some sense, you are making them weaker. They have a more difficult time coping when they are left out in the wild. And the other technique of directly sowing a seed in the ground, I guess that's where we have to aim for.